Get ready for a no BS approach to health and fitness. This is NBS Fitness Radio.
What's up? And we're back with Chris Carver. Say what's up, Chris.
What up?
Welcome to NBS Fitness Radio, bud. Chris is a new coach here at NBS Fitness. He does personal training. He teaches some of our group training, does nutrition coaching, and helps with some of our client success management tasks.
Yeah, buddy.
And man, we're excited to have you on, and we want to introduce you to our listeners and to all of our clients and everyone that kind of follows us, and kind of hear your background and your story, kind of what brought you here, how you got into fitness. So let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
Let it go.
All right. Well, so I'm born and raised in South Georgia. And so in the South, it's, eat fried food, this, do that, make sure you go back for seconds, go to grandma's house. You got to make sure you're eating her food, your aunt's food, everybody's food. So like you're loaded up with food all the time. And so I grew up very unhealthy, even though I was active. I played Pee Wee League baseball as a kid. I played Pee Wee League football as a kid. And so I was very active outside with my friends, riding bikes, backyard football, all that. But when I was 8 years old, I weighed 140 pounds.
Dang. At 8?
At 8. Yeah.
Dang.
I was a very, very big kid, and I was made fun of for it. I was called every name in the book. No matter where I went, it was fat boy, it was biggin, it was hoss. Things like that really hit me hard as a kid. And I was at the YMCA one day, and a kid called me Santa Claus. I was carrying a bag of dodgeballs. He called me Santa Claus. I'm like, something's wrong. This is not good. Like, why are people making fun of me? And that just continually progressed. When I was in 7th grade, I started developing some serious pain in my hip. And I was in class going, what is wrong with me?
You playing sports still?
I was still playing baseball.
Yeah.
Pee Wee League baseball. I was planning to go into high school and play sports in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is wrong? Why am I hurting? And still a big kid at the time. And so I talked to my parents, I'm like, why am I in pain right now? Like, I had my appendix removed when I was in 4th grade. It's like, I knew it wasn't that. It was my right hip. So I'm like, what is going on? They're like, oh, by the way, you were born with a hip deficiency. Oh, you're telling me this now. Cool. And so I had it checked out, and they're like, yeah, it's progressed. It's gotten worse. I'm like, well, what is it? And as a kid or an infant, they call it Chandler's disease.
Okay.
And so as an adult, it's called avascular necrosis. So there's limited blood flow to my hip.
Yeah.
And so without that nutrients, without blood circulating to the hip, it's necrotic. So it's basically dying.
Yeah.
And over time, it will deteriorate even more. And so at 7th grade, that's when it was like at the pinnacle of like, hey, your body cannot withstand this pain threshold anymore. So that's where that inflammation started coming in. So I guess it became more arthritic when I was a kid in 7th grade. And so my mom, we went to the doctor, and we had an x-ray done. He checked it out. He goes, yeah, it's actually more severe than we thought. You need to quit playing sports, is what the ortho told me. He's like, basically, prepare for the worst. When you get older, you need to have a sedentary job, sedentary lifestyle. Don't stand up for long periods of time. Make sure you're sitting down. And I just started crying. I remember looking at my mom, looking back at the ortho, and I just gave him the finger. I was so mad.
I can't believe an ortho told that to your face in 8th grade.
I know.
Or 7th grade. That's cool.
Yeah. It was a shock. And so I got very depressed and became less active. I did what they said.
Yeah.
Didn't want to disrespect my parents, and got into high school. And now I'm in 9th grade, 2 years later, weighing 240 pounds. So again, I'm a big kid.
Yeah.
And couldn't play sports, wanted to do something where I could be active. And so I took up marching band, of all things.
Okay.
It was after school curriculars.
Yeah.
It allowed me to not sit down. My hip didn't bother me too terribly bad.
Yeah. What'd you play?
Trumpet.
Dude, I was in 9th grade marching band, and I also played trumpet.
Let's go.
All right. Very cool.
Can you still play?
I could probably do a scale, but I can still buzz my lips.
Yeah.
But I don't, That's about it. I can make it make noise. Can I play it? Probably not.
Yeah, I tried not long ago. I was like, I suck now. But it was something to keep me moving, and I had made friends who accepted me for who I was, being a big kid. And so one of my friends who was on the trumpet line, as they called it, he was a wrestler, and he was in great shape.
Yeah.
Never forget his name. His name's Doug. And he's like, you should try out. He's like, you'd be in the heavyweight class, but you should try out. I'm like, I can't. I got a bad hip. And so he's like, just try it. Just come to practice one day, see if you can do it. My mom dropped me off. She's like, you're not doing this, and you're going to see why. She's like, go to it, feel the pain, experience it, and you're not going to be able to do
it. Were your parents active or healthy?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Put it in perspective, my mother in the late 80s, she had gastric bypass surgery. So she took the easy way out with health. She lost over 100 pounds. But as that progressed later in life, she gained it all back.
Yeah.
Because she just put a Band-Aid over the problem.
Yeah.
I love my father. He type 2 diabetic, things like that. Not excessively heavy.
Yeah.
Like he never hit 300 pounds.
Yeah.
But at the time, again, they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know what healthy nutrition was.
Mm-hmm.
It was Friday nights. I'm going to have a ribeye steak with my parents, baked potato, some sausage links, and a sweet tea.
Yeah.
You know, that was every Friday.
Yeah.
And so went with my friend Doug. He took me to practice or tryouts, and my coach at the time, he was like, if you can pass your physical, you can be on the team. It's like, all right, because I told him the situation. And so I went, had my physical done, and she was like, it was weird, but she was like, do you know you have scoliosis? No, I don't. Why? And they're like, well, you have one leg shorter than the other because of your hip, and that's causing you to develop scoliosis. Like, great. Is it bad? And they're like, no, you're okay. I was like, well, do I pass my physical? No. Okay. I want to wrestle. Somehow she saw it in my face. She's like, here, signed off on the papers, took it to my coach, and started wrestling. I suck at wrestling. I was just a big kid who could just hang on for dear life. I could not win a match, but it was physical activity. It was something that I enjoyed doing. I love playing baseball. I love the grit. And so I wanted to get better. And the best way that I thought to get better was to lose weight.
Yeah.
And so I dropped weight my freshman year going into the season and got down to 220. So
from
20,
from 240.
220, yep. And then he was like, you've got potential. Let's see if we can get you into a lighter class.
Yeah.
So I went from 220 to 189 within the next year.
Wow.
Still sucked. But I could move better.
Yeah.
I felt better. I was more confident in myself. And on the plus side, being an athlete with the high school, I got to go to weight training every day.
Yeah.
And so
did your hip feel better as you lost the weight?
As I got older, and as I lost the weight, I started feeling better.
Okay.
Currently in this state, it bothers me, but because I am active, it doesn't bother me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It does, but it doesn't.
It's there, but it doesn't. It's not preventing you or limiting you. You're just like, I'm aware of it. Yeah.
I'm aware of it, and I work around it.
Yeah.
And so I remember going to weight training class. I remember my freshman year weighing that 240.
Mm-hmm.
I could barely bench 95 pounds. And then I remember going into my senior year, it was the last week of senior year, and I remember I want to hit 300. And so I got 305 on the bench weighing 190 pounds. And I was like,
dang,
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I love weight training. It did so much for me. And I only wrestled for 2 years.
Yeah.
Freshman and sophomore year. And then I was able to stay with weight training all throughout high school.
That's awesome.
And so it just, from there, it just became a passion. Like, I love working out. If I can't do contact sport, then working out is going to be my athleticism, my athlete stuff, or my sport. There we go.
Yeah. Your athletic pursuit.
There you go. And so after high school, I got into college, and I was going to the gym every day. I was actually a psychology major going into college. I did psychology for 2 years, and I like talking to people, but I cannot, for some reason, psychology I couldn't translate it to paper.
Gotcha.
And so my professor, one of my mentors who mentored me throughout college, sat me down. He's like, "Why are you in this? Why are you in psychology?" I'm like, well, I like talking to people. I like helping people.
Yeah.
I like building relationships with people. And he's like, okay, but what else? Like, what's another reason? Like, well, I want to make good money.
Yeah.
I want to be a doctor, doctor of psychology. He's like, well, your grades are not there.
Yeah.
you're 2 years into this, son. You need to figure it out. What do you like to do? He's like, you're a big guy. You like to work out. Yeah, I do. Try to do it at least 5-6 days a week. He's like, well, have you ever considered exercise science? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So he sat me down and we talked. He's like, I recommend you going back and starting over. Spend another 2 years, get your grades back up, and see if this is the course you want to go through.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in a 4-year school. I went back home, and by a 4-year school, I mean I was an hour from my hometown.
Where were you at?
So I was at a small college called Georgia Southwestern State University.
Yeah. Okay.
Their football team's undefeated. It doesn't exist.
There you go. Never lost a game.
Never lost a game.
Never won one.
Never won one. But I ended up going to a community college called Darton College.
Okay.
That was in Albany, Georgia. And so did that for 2 years, and my GPA skyrocketed. And it was something I could translate to paper, something I could understand well and apply. And so while going to school, I wanted to have a job that allowed me to learn as I was in school.
Yeah.
And so of all things, I worked for GNC starting out at 19 years old. I worked for GNC for almost 5-6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I did it for a while, and I was able to talk to people and translate my education to my job. And people were coming to me going, you're not just trying to sell stuff. I'm like, no, I want to educate you. Like, this is what this stuff does.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And so it allowed me to be successful as a salesperson there, and allowed me to do good in school. And then going into my 21st birthday, of all things, I wanted abs. I'd never had abs, being a big kid. And so I trained and dieted, of all words, for a physique competition.
Nice.
And I went from 197 to 170. So that was the lightest I'd ever been in my life. And I actually had a 4-pack. I was very proud of myself.
Nice.
And kept it for a few years.
Nice. Keeping it for any period after the physique competition is impressive. Most people lose it 2 weeks after.
Yeah. And so I did that for a little bit. And then a buddy of mine back in high school was like, you need to come CrossFit. You'd love it. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I just come to a class. And again, an event in my life I'll never forget. It was Thanksgiving Day, and the workout was called the Turkey Bowl. It was at a gym called World Camp CrossFit. And so went there. It was a team workout of 4. I think it was squat, deadlift, overhead press. Those were the 3 movements. It was a heavy load. Can't remember the load, but all I remember is you had to load the bar, lift a certain amount of reps, and you could do it between you and your team. Then you have to take the load off, and you had to run a 400 meter with the weights in your hands between you and your team. And then come back, build the bar back up, go to the next movement. I then had a 45-minute drive to my aunt's for Thanksgiving, sat down at the table to eat, and both my hamstrings locked up.
Oh.
I fell to the floor, and they're like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, CrossFit. That's all I could say. But I fell in love with that. And that made me fall in love with weightlifting, Olympic lifting. I, loved weight training and bodybuilding exercises, but weightlifting to me it was more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became passionate with power cleans, snatches, overhead squats. I hated running, but CrossFit made me do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to get a little bit deeper on a couple of these things.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me, and I want to get your opinion on, is like one of the things that triggered you to start exercising and doing stuff was like a desire to not be the fat kid.
Yeah.
like people calling you the fat kid is like, I don't like that.
Mm-mm.
And I want to change that.
Yeah.
I'm similar, the opposite in the sense that I was a super skinny kid and I hated people tell me how skinny I was and like, look how skinny his calves are, look how tiny his legs are, look how tiny his arms are, like, you know, and but like being made fun of while painful is what caused me to take action and change it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what put me on the path to where I am today. And likewise you. And nowadays there's kind of this thought process that like shame is bad. And that, you know, we should never shame anyone about their bodies or about their weight, or about their physical abilities. And, you know, there's probably, I mean, there's a reason for that. There, you know, you're not trying to cause psychological scarring to people.
Right.
But there is some benefit of being made aware of something that you are not living up to a standard.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
towards,
had I continued that path, you know, at 8 years old, being 130 plus, I wouldn't be here.
yeah,
Had I not learned a healthy lifestyle
yeah,
of physical fitness and understanding how to eat correctly.
yeah,
And so yes, did it hurt at the time? Yeah, it wasn't fun growing up, but I don't do that to people. Obviously, like I care for people and want them to be successful. And so I look at it as an opportunity to say, hey, look, I've been where you are,
yeah,
but I know where you can be.
yeah.
And so,
But I guess like my thought, or like what I'm just exploring here in my mind is is like nowadays, if you there's a cultural pressure that would say, like, even pointing out to someone that they're overweight in a loving manner is unacceptable.
It
You
is.
say like, hey, like you put on a lot of weight and, you know, I care about you, and like this is just not healthy. Like you need to lose this weight.
yeah,
There's a part of society that would tell you like
that's wrong.
that's wrong. You can be healthy at any size, that, and it just promotes like body acceptance to the extreme.
Yeah.
And like I don't think shame to the extreme is healthy, but I don't
No.
think body acceptance to the extreme is
Right.
healthy. There's like your worth as an individual is not built into your physique or your appearance.
Right.
But you have a responsibility to take care of your body
Right.
and to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so a little shame and going like, I'm not living up to that standard is good.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's not like you're telling someone who's excessively overweight that they need to be skinny. It's just saying, look, you're not healthy.
You're not at your full potential. I
Yeah.
want you to be at your full potential.
Yeah. You're a father, you're a mother, you're a uncle, brother, sister, whatever. You want to be the best for every single person in your life. Right now, what you're doing to yourself is honestly selfish.
Yeah.
You know, you're enjoying your life while everybody else is watching you, you know, not be there.
Yeah. 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 Agreed. The other thing I was going to ask you was like, cause I also did bodybuilding like prior to doing CrossFit, and like what, I think a lot of people initially get into training because they wanted the physique improvements. I think like, especially in America, physique or the way you look seems to be like the primary focus when it comes to like health and fitness.
Yep.
And so a lot of times just like lose 30 pounds, have abs. And that's like what a lot of people like. I feel better about myself if I look better. But like that's kind of a bit of a black hole to go down.
Yeah.
Because you could always point out these flaws in the way that you look.
Oh yeah.
Looking for acceptance from other people based off of your physique. I mean, it leads to like a lot of bad decisions.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And so like to me, like I like the physical. I like I like the challenge of like the bodybuilding show, but like I was like, man, like this seems a bit empty and hollow, like in the end. It's like I was like, it's fun, but I want to do this forever.
Mhm.
And to me, CrossFit, what I realized was like, this is something I was like, I could do this forever. There's always there's always improvement, pursuit, and stuff. I was like, but I feel more well rounded
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I look good, but I also feel healthy, and also
Right.
feel functional, and I feel strong, and I feel explosive. I feel like
Right.
I can move, and I feel athletic again.
Yep.
I mean, did you experience similar things? Like, what made you go like, I just don't think I'm going to keep doing physique shows.
Yeah.
And I like this CrossFit stuff.
To me, it was having that group, that community
Yeah.
of people was number one. I loved having, group of people suffering just like me in the
Yeah.
same workouts. But also it was the fact that every training session was always different.
Yeah.
There was always going to be a challenge somewhere. There might
Yeah.
be a movement that I'm great at, or we'll be doing a strength program and I'm like, oh, I'm going to murder this, but come Metcon time, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Because my cardio when I did, physique training was just an incline walk on a treadmill at a high speed.
Right.
That's all it was. And so
Ditto.
the biggest thing was just the constant variety of the training, the
Yeah.
community, and then just that euphoric feeling after a workout, laying on the ground, that rise in dopamine just
Yeah.
always makes me want to come back for more.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Man, the bodybuilding process is just such a lonely process. You're
It
just
is.
like so isolated in everything that you do. Like
Yep.
you're training alone, you're doing your cardio alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like your wife's not doing it with you. You go out to eat or to your friends' houses. You're bringing your Tupperware.
Bringing your
It's just like-
Tupperware.
you're just like,
I remember being at grandma's house and she's like, and God rest her soul, I miss her. But she was like, you're not gonna eat any of my casserole? And I was like, I'm sorry, grandma. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here holding chicken and broccoli.
sorry, Grandma, I just really want to look good in this bikini in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Oh, I mean, admittedly, there was a degree of that like I liked.
Mhm.
Like
It shows discipline.
I was like, but I turned into something bad. It was just like, it kind of like, it's more just an ego show. It's like, look how much tougher I am and everyone else. And you all are this and I'm that. And that was kind of what it turned into. It was like, it was kind of necessary to get it done because I needed to have like a fight.
Mhm.
I needed to have like something to go against. And
Yeah.
like I said, in bodybuilding, the competition is 16 weeks away.
Right.
So like on their daily basis, like where's your competitiveness? It was like between me and everyone else.
Right.
And then you're just not fun to be around because you're just a dick to everyone.
That's right.
So it's like, that was my struggle.
Especially when you started carb depleting, you're like, I hate everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I haven't had anything good to eat or, you know.
Yeah. I was doing this while in school. So when I was sitting there taking the test, I was like,
Oh boy.
oh boy,
Yeah.
I'm not doing well.
Like, I'm trying to stay focused here, but the only thing I think about is like the rice cake I got to eat in 30 minutes.
That's right. I would be in class and just, you hear the zipper. Bzzz.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. So you started doing CrossFit.
Yep.
And that kind of got you into Olympic lifting. So
Yes.
keep going.
Sure. So while I was in CrossFit, I did not want to spend the money. I was a penny pincher.
Mhm.
I lived off what I was making at GNC. My dad's like, I'll take care of your car. Everything else you buy is on you. Cool. And so I walked up to the owner. I was like, how can I work here? What can I do?
Yeah.
He's like, do you want to be a coach? I was like, I'd love to. He's like, well, you move well. You're taking to things well. You got a great personality. We need some extra hands. He's like, how about this? I'll pay for half your certification. You pay the other half since it was $1,000.
Yeah.
He's like, you pass it, you're hired. Cool. Done. Got hired on. That was in 2013.
Okay.
And got hired on, coached CrossFit while I was finishing up my undergrad. And my last semester of undergrad, this was 2014, so a year later, I had to do an internship. And so I was considering strength conditioning just for the sheer fact that weightlifting, Olympic lifting, programming with CrossFit, I was learning it. Now I wanted to apply it more in a deeper setting. And so I had to quit my job with the CrossFit facility and interned at a school in South Georgia, Valdosta State University.
We played Valdosta State in college.
Hey-o. It's a good football team.
And they won like Football Town USA or something because they've got.
Yeah, they were national champions I think it was 2013.
Yeah. And their high school is awesome too. They got great sports like community down there.
Yep. And I was under the mentorship of Michael Dosher. I believe he is still there too. He's been there over 20 years. Great guy.
Strength coach?
Strength coach.
Is he over the whole sports program or just football or
all sports programs? Yep. And then he had a great setup as far as like help. He had grad assistants, at least 3 grad assistants, and then when I went in, there was 4 of us interns.
Okay.
So he had extra staff to help out, and at the time, it worked out so well. 2 of the grad assistants were actually both football players from Baylor, so they were both offensive linemen, huge guys.
I'm looking up Valdosta State's exercise facilities currently.
Oh yeah,
very cool. Okay.
It might still be the same. It's they once they won national championship, they got a lot of support.
Nice.
So it was able to build and grow.
Yeah.
At the time when I learned, Coach Dosher was all big about the triphasic method.
Okay.
All about it. And we were using Tendo units, focusing on speed, strength, speed. It was great. I loved it.
That's cool. Okay.
And of all the interns, he picked me to help him and his GAs run the football program. So
cool.
Whereas the other kids were like, you're going to go play with tennis. You're going to go to golf.
Yeah.
So football is where you want to be.
Very cool.
So yeah, I did that. I had to do 1,000 hours for my undergrad. I knocked that out in like 2 months because I was working 14 hours a day, 5 days a week.
That's the life of a strength coach.
Oh yeah, it was fun. And so once I completed that, it was time to figure out what the next step was. And I talked to my mentor, talked to Coach Dosher. I was like, what do you guys suggest? He's like, well, you're about to have a bachelor's. That's great. Which puts you in the qualifications to take your CSCS. And I, unfortunately at the time, did not pass it. And so I was like, all right, what's the next step then? He's like, well, you can wait, study some more. They're leaning towards a lot of coaches having master's degrees now. So maybe pursue your master's. That way you have it. You can later on in life take the CSCS if you want to. So that's what I did. Ended up at Liberty University.
Very cool.
Yep. Was there for 2 years. And I got hired on also as a graduate assistant
at
Liberty. But I wasn't with the strength staff. I was with the sports science side.
Okay.
So they had a new program coming in, and they had a human performance laboratory. And so I did more research than application. And so I learned sports science research. We did a lot of anaerobic testing, aerobic testing, Wingate tests.
Yeah.
Got to experience bod pods, got to experience hydrostatic weighing, DEXA scanning.
Very cool. So you got like kind of both sides of the strength and conditioning.
Exactly. Field. And that's what my mentor is like. You do this, you learn the sports science, and then you can apply it as a strength coach. I was like, that makes sense. And so I was a grad assistant for 2 years. It paid for my college, which was great. My fiance, or girlfriend at the time, who became my fiance, while I was at Liberty, she was the one that really kicked me in my rear. She has pushed me and driven me to get out of my comfort zone. So my mentors were telling me when I was an undergrad, and I was weighing on, do I do this? Do I don't? My girlfriend, Mariah, she was like, you need to do it. They're saying do it, do it. I'll support you. I'll be there the entire way. So she worked full time while we were at Liberty. My grad assistantship gave me a stipend that helped with bills, but she was the one that kept everything afloat while we did that.
Yeah.
So it was great having her by my side during that. And so fast forward to the end of my graduate year, I had to had the option of either a thesis, which I'd already done 2 presentations for ACSM. And I was like, that's American College of Sports Medicine. Did 2 presentations with them from a research study. I didn't want to do any more research. I was tired of it.
Yeah.
And so asked and prayed and begged, can I do another internship, please? And they're like, yeah, we'll figure it out. And so they concoct an internship program so that I could knock it out and still do a grad assistantship and still get paid. So that was great.
Very cool.
And so my last semester, I worked with their strength program for their Olympic sports program.
Oh, very cool.
So at Liberty, huge facility. They have multitudes of strength programs. You've got club sports strength program. You got strictly football program.
Yeah.
And then basketball had its own strength program.
Yeah.
And then Olympic sports was basically the hub of everything else.
Yeah.
So there I worked under Shelton Stevens, which he's branched off and started his own programming now, doing his own thing. But at the time, learned a lot, worked with baseball, track and field, men's soccer, men's golf, and softball.
Very cool. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And so that was the end of that. And I was
What did you like about compare and contrast like the pros and cons to like doing the research versus doing like the application?
Yeah. With research, wasn't a big fan because it had to be organized. You had to make sure everything was done to the T. You had to make sure all of your data was collected correctly. Sorry about that. Had to make sure data was measured correctly. And then once it's measured and you collected it, you have to statistically analyze it.
Yeah.
You had to make sure that that was correct. And then you can then submit all that to the IRB for approval. And once it's approved, if it's approved, because they'll send it back with tons of revisions.
Yeah.
Then you could submit for article submission or publication or presentation. So that's very tedious. So I didn't really like the whole aspect of it. I did like being in the trenches and like doing the testing.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, I was the relationship guy. I was the guy that made everybody feel comfortable coming in. I mean, you imagine someone who's never ran at a high speed on a treadmill. They're about to have a mask put on their face. Yeah. That's already taken up a lot of their breathing.
Yeah, I was like, I remember like there was a study at Memphis was doing one time on, it was on a supplement, but they were trying, I remember the test was 10 sets of 10 sets of 10 with a 10-second negative.
Oh, wow.
Something to induce like maximum soreness.
Yeah.
I remember just being like, good gosh. like if you do, like, I was like, how are you going to get anyone who knows what they're doing to do that? Because like, if you've ever trained at all, you're like, I'm not doing that. So I felt bad. I was like, someone is about to be as sore as they've ever going to feel in their life. It was like 10 sets of 10, the 10-second negative with like bodyweight push-up or something.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Ouchies.
Yes. Very ouchies.
And then, but again, like I said, I love the relationship side. And then with the strength side, biggest thing I didn't like is obviously the long hours.
Hours are tough.
Hours are tough. Strength coach world, it's not about what you make, it's about what you do. Most strength coaches don't do this because they get a fat paycheck. They do it because they really love what they do.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what it was about. It was about helping impact people's lives. When I was at Valdosta State, I built some relationships with a lot of football guys. A lot of those guys were there because football was all they knew. Yeah. They were coming from broken homes. They were, they didn't know where they were getting their next meal. Yep. It was, I'll get lunch tomorrow. And so I remember giving a guy, half my lunch one day because he was feeling pretty fatigued. I'm like, hey man, when's the last time you ate? He goes, oh, yesterday at lunch. I'm like, that's not good. Yeah. He's like, I don't have food at home. Yeah. And so it was building those relationships with young adults who were going to grow into, great people, which is why I love strength conditioning and love to see changes, progressions in performance, like being able to see a guy on the field go, man, we increased his strength speed or his sprint speed. Horsepower output's incredible. He's, killing these guys on the field. Yeah. It was just great seeing that transition. Yeah. 1,000%. Oh yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So then what'd you do after Liberty?
So, moved to Memphis.
Like for a job or like, okay. Like you had found a job and applied and
moved to Memphis. Moved to Memphis, been here 4 years. We came to Memphis because thinking, why a guy from South Georgia, why would you come to Memphis, Tennessee? Well, my wife's from Oklahoma, and she's from Tulsa, so not too far from here. And so we would actually stop in Memphis. When we drove from Albany, Georgia up to Tulsa, Oklahoma, our midway stopping point for gas was Memphis, Tennessee.
Ah, there you go.
Yep. And so I remember getting gas out off of 64, grabbing some gas one day. I'm like, I remember this area. We came out here forever and a day ago. I met her dad for the first time at the La Quinta on 64.
Okay.
This was Thanksgiving of 2012. And we had got a dog. So they found the dog in Oklahoma, and they're like, it's a pretty dog. We're going to go give it up for adoption. I'm like, no, I want it to lab. I've never had a lab.
Yeah.
They just found the dog on the street. And so her dad's like, I'll take care of him, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, halfway. Okay.
Yep. And it was the La Quinta in Memphis, Tennessee.
Very cool.
And that dog is still with us to this day.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay.
So, yeah. So 4 years. I was a fitness coach for a while. And then lo and behold, MBS came about.
All right. Right on.
So
what kind of stuff are you training like personally for now? Because I mean, in the past you said you've done done the physique competition, the CrossFit. Like what's your training look like now?
So right now my training, there's not a lot of organization to it. I hate saying that, but now that I've been here for a little while, I'm starting to really get excited about potentially doing powerlifting.
Very cool.
I love Olympic lifting. I train mostly that. So I'll focus on improving my clean and jerk, focus on improving my squat, my overhead squat, my snatch. And then on top of that, I'll incorporate some type of hypertrophy training, bodybuilding style exercises just to maintain muscle mass and strength. But lately I've been training with a few of the guys who train here regularly or work here part-time, and it's been fun, trying out new things, and exploring new avenues as far as fitness. Is it something that I want to do long-term? Probably not. I really love, I love all different styles of training. Yeah. I'd like to do CrossFit at least 2-3 days a week. Work on my Olympic lifting at least a day or two a week, and then accessorize that with hypertrophy training.
Very cool.
That way I'm just constantly, I guess you say I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none when it comes to the fitness. But it allows me to still venture out and, again, it's a relationship thing for me. Like I've got to meet a few guys here just by working out with them. I've established a connection with them, and it's been fun.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, I've always kind of wanted, my goal for MBS has always been to create a place where people could explore their fitness over a lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, if there was one fitness program that was best for everyone to do at all times to meet all goals, then we would all do it, right? I mean, that just doesn't exist. Ideally, you're going to be working out for, at least purposefully working out somewhere around 60 to 80 years. If you start like at 12,
right?
And our lifespan's 72-ish up to, 90.
Yeah.
Then we should have about 60 to 80 years there where we are, purposefully exercising and training and trying to improve our fitness. So over that time frame, there's plenty of opportunities to explore multiple areas of fitness. And sometimes there's and within those opportunities, there's competition if you like to pursue that, or there's just kind of self-improvement. So I think and this is something I learned in just kind of my own training, is like you're probably not going to do anything for 80 years. So if you think you're going to bodybuild for 80 years competitively, like you're not. No. If you think you're going to do high level CrossFit for 80 years, like probably not. No. There's going to be periods where you just want to go off on a tangent for a little bit.
Right.
But you need to have something to kind of fall back on and come back to. And that's what that's one of my goals, is to not, that's great opportunities for people to kind of like go off on those tangents, but then also help them kind of feel comfortable coming back to some type of like general fitness.
Right.
So, well, very cool, dude, man. It's great to kind of hear your story, and hopefully that was helpful for some other people to kind of hear that. Any kind of final words of advice for anyone?
One thing I'd say is, to kind of fall back onto my hip condition, to kind of like express that regardless of what physical limitation you have, it can be overcome if you do it correctly. And that's really what I like to use when I talk to people who think they have a disability, whether it be I'm overweight or I have knee pain or
Yeah.
I have a bad shoulder. I'm like, it's okay. I have my back is the shape of a backwards S, and I still do this every day.
Yeah.
And my hip is arthritic. There's no cartilage. I'm due for a hip replacement in the next decade.
Yeah.
However, I still am active.
Yeah.
And, you know, regardless of what you think you have that might prevent you from being physically active, you still can.
Yeah.
It's just working around that in the correct way.
Very cool. I love it. There's no real physical limitations, just
No.
mental ones.
No, anybody can be fit and healthy. They just have to choose to. And obviously, you want to have the right coaches, which MBS definitely has that.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
All right. MBS Fitness Radio out.
Thank you for listening to NBS Fitness Radio. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our website at www.nbsfitness.net. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more NBS Fitness Radio.